Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It being 3 minutes past 6, I'll declare this meeting open. Welcome to the December Ordinary Council meeting. Kaya Marman, Kaya Yoga, Kaya Bridie, Yana Nook, Nalak Kadij Winji Alak Nini, Nalak Kadij Nidja, Buja Bal, Wajak Nunga, Buja Nalak Nini, Kura, Nijie Burawan. The town of Bassendean acknowledges the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to elders past and present and acknowledge their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the region. I would ask if all councillors have signed the civic duty and responsibility. Would someone like to pass it up to me and I will sign it as well? For the benefit of the public and for those listening in, I will actually read out what councillors sign at the beginning of council meetings. I make this declaration in good faith and declare that I will duly, faithfully, honestly and with integrity fulfil the duties of my office for all the people in the town of Bassendean according to the best of my judgment and ability. And Councillor Ames, I will just ask, we have Councillor Ames coming in online. I'll just ask Councillor Ames if you are in a safe and secure place to discuss and consider the items on the agenda tonight, confidential items.
Yes, I am, and I also accept my civic duty responsibility as a councillor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Announcements by the presiding. I'll also let people know that these meetings are being live streamed, recorded, and the recording will appear on the website as soon as possible. So announcements by the presiding person without discussion, and I'll just open my folder. In respect to the Bondi attack, our thoughts are with the victims, their families, first responders and the wider community as we come to terms with the devastating events on the East Coast on Sunday evening. As an organisation committed to equality, diversity and inclusion, we strongly condemned any acts of violence. Hatred and violence have no place in Australian society. Everyone deserves to live and participate in their communities safely, with dignity and a true sense of belonging. Our nation and our communities are shaped by many cultures, and there is strength, resilience and unity in that diversity. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Attendances, apologies and applications for leave of absence. Now, as I've indicated previously, Councillor Ames is coming in online. Mr CEO, I don't believe we have any other apologies, do we? No? Okay. So, councillors, we come to declarations of interest. Item number 4. Councillor John.
Yes, as indicated at the briefing session last week, I have an impartiality interest in relation to the Swan District Football Club, where I am a membership of the year 2025.
Councillor Ames, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Same impartiality, conflict of interest for item for the Bassendean Oval Redevelopment due to my long-standing affiliation with the football club.
Okay. Any other declarations of impartiality interest? No? Okay. So we now go on to presentations or deputations. I don't believe there are any that have been sent through tonight. Okay. We have item 6, which is statements by members of the public. We have one member of the gallery in the public gallery. I don't believe you wanted to make a statement. No? Okay. Sorry, 2 members. I couldn't see you behind the microphone. Apologies there. Okay. I'm sorry. No statement? Okay.
Can I just say one thing?
You can come up to the microphone. Is the microphone switched on? Anyone? Okay.
Just brief.
Right. first of all, we'll wait for the microphone to turn on. If you could state your name and address before you begin. There is public statement time is for 2 minutes as a maximum.
Yep.
Thank you.
Cecilia Bovar, 74 Ivanhoe Street, Bassendean. Right?
Yep.
Can I go ahead? Look, last week when we left the meeting, I sent an email out to the senior councillors for Town of Bassendean, the planning. I've had no reply from, how to go ahead about this next process. Is there a deputation form again? Because I thought that we were going to have the deputation forms that I had previously done that would be read out again. I've had no contact from any of those members, and it went CC to all the others. Look, I'm very grateful what they've been doing. They're helping me, but I've had no response from Patricia Hurst and the other members
Could I ask you, ma'am, you can make a general statement, but
Yep.
please refrain from reflecting badly on the staff.
I'm not
Now-
saying anything badly.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay. So
Just wanna know.
I will ask for a response to be provided to you shortly. Would you like to continue, or would you like a
yeah, I
response?
just
to-
want to finish that.
Yep,
So I've
okay.
come here again saying, is there a deputation form or whatever? We had no reply. So again, I'm grateful what they're doing, but I had no reply from last week's meeting, how to go ahead for tonight and what's the process. So what do I do? I've had no response. So, yeah.
Just to let you know that information is available on the town's website in respect to
Well, I'm
all
not computer
meeting,
literate. Yeah,
in
so
respect to all meeting processes. Okay, and that includes deputations. And on my own website, on my own Facebook page, I publish information on how to access these particular sites so that you can actually do a deputation. But I will ask Mr. CEO if you wanted to add anything.
No, Madam Mayor, I'll follow up and see whether
Yeah.
the incoming record and why you haven't been responded to. That's disappointing.
it's just something clearly, I've come here, close open eyes when I hear that, and then no response. So I've done my thing. What was the next thing? So I'm not computer literate. I get help from everyone. Sorry, I'm not like you guys on these laptops and everything. I'm being honest. I'm a hairdresser, and my hands are my life, and not like you guys. So I just wanted to brief on it. That's all why I had no response to go forward what I had to do for today. So
Can I
blinded.
just give you some assurance, though, that by not having the deputation, you're not at a disadvantage. The officers have written a very good report.
Yep.
By all accounts, you've been operating your business very well since August, and
Yep.
we've had no complaints.
Yep.
And the officers' report says
Yep.
that, and I think you spoke last week, so I don't think you're at any
Yeah,
disadvantage.
no, I just was worried because when she said that, I just thought, oh my God, if I come out with nothing again,
No.
So yeah, that's just briefing. I'm very grateful what everyone's been doing, but just a response, yes, I got your email, or no, you don't have to do anything, that's all.
Okay.
A yes or no.
Okay.
I can
Thank
read
you.
emails, I can do that.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'll follow up, thank you.
Okay. So we'll move on to item 7, which is questions from members of the public. I don't believe any have been sent in.
None, Madam.
Okay. And are there any questions from members of the public in the gallery? No? Okay. So item 8, petitions. There are none that I know of. We now move to 9.1, confirmation of the minutes. And the officer's recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 18th of November 2025 be received and confirmed as a true and correct record. Do I have a mover for that item? Councillor John, Councillor Long as a seconder. Anyone against? I'll declare that carried. We have nil business deferred from the previous meeting. We come to 11.1, external committee reports and updates. So, councillors, the officer of recommendation, there's only one external committee, the Walga East Metropolitan Zone. The officer's recommendation that council notes the minutes from external committees received within the reporting period. Do I have a mover? Councillor Carter. A seconder, Councillor Burke. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. So, councillors, we'll now move on to the items on block, and I understand that. Okay, we've got 12.2, which is on block, and 12.4, 12.3, and 12.8 and 12.9. Does anyone want to bring out anything on block? Okay, 12.2, correct? Okay, are there any other items to come out of en bloc? Okay, so councillors, 12.2, which is the home business, number 74 Ivanhoe Street, is coming out of en bloc. That leaves 12.4, council plan, 12.8, accounts paid, and 12.9, monthly financial report. Can I have a mover for those items? Councillor Carter, seconded Councillor Plivka. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. Okay, so this brings us to 12.2, which is the home business, number 74 Ivanhoe Street. And this was covered fairly comprehensively last week. I will ask if there's any additional information that the officers want to present, otherwise I'll take it straight to questions. Michelle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, councillors. There's an updated report in response to last week's questions around noise concerns and the hours of trade. So I just wanted to touch briefly on both of those items, if you permit. With regard to the noise concerns, the report now notes that the business owner has begun opening the doors away from the neighbours, and the report also notes that the level of noise generated from the business would be no greater than the noise from what is a fairly busy road. So in short, the road will drown out most of the noise impacts. That's been noted in the report. And with regard to the hours of trade question, text has been added to the report that explains that the applicant is looking to trade in accordance with the policy. So our policy states that a home business owner can trade up to 54 hours a week. So in short, the 54 hours is compliant with the policy, but it's probably worth noting that this is essentially creating some flexibility for the business, as it's unlikely that there will be back-to-back customers and an actual 54-hour working week. I think in closing, I'd probably just like to remind Council that this is a 12-month trial or temporary arrangement for us to review. The business owner's current working model is in line with what's been put forward this evening, and there's been no complaints to date. So just thought I'd add that final observation before you consider the item.
Okay. So councillors, questions? Councillor Carter?
Thank you. I'd just like to have one question. In the application, it states that the mobile unit will leave the premises, but we have been told that it will be parked there permanently. So which is correct?
The question, Director, was the councillor is under the impression that the van will be permanently at the house, which I don't think is correct.
I think whilst it's doing its business, it will be at the house, but it otherwise has the ability to move around outside of its business hours.
Okay.
Well, I would imagine, I think the way I understand the report is the fact that the business owner has the option to be a mobile business or a home business, and we have no control over that, but I'm at no point...
My apologies, that's correct. Thanks.
Yep. Okay. And for the benefit of the audience, once we're in the phase of considering reports, we do not take questions from the audience. Okay? So, councillors, further questions? I have a question, if you don't mind. And I think I actually copied you into my question when I sent it by email. The rear door is obviously, it goes down when you've got the people with disabilities coming into the vehicle. And I just wasn't sure because the first stop point mentioned weather permitting, which is the side door, which is fine. But the rear door, to my mind, if it was just allowing people to access, have disability, then at all other times that door should be closed. Is that correct? I'm just unsure of how that because it's got here. I'll read it out what it says actually. The rear van doors will be open to wheelchair or mobility access people and closed depending on weather conditions. And I didn't understand why weather conditions would come into that second dot point.
Look, the doors can be closed for the duration of a customer being there. It will be. We need to be mindful, I suppose, that it can be sometimes resource challenging to police that requirement. But yes, the doors can be closed for the duration of the customer's experience.
Okay. Councillors, further questions? Councillor Plivka.
I guess it's a balancing of the rights of the landowner as against the neighbours. Now, so I give particular, emphasis to the comments that were received back. So as a result of the SAP process, we see that comments had came back where some of the neighbours had indicated that the efforts had been made to reduce the intensity. Am I right in believing that the changes that are made to the management plan, especially the exclusion of trading on Sunday, is aimed at addressing those concerns that were raised by the neighbours?
Yes, to some degree. It was a question that was raised at briefing, just to clarify that the hours didn't include Sunday, and so the report is just putting that amendment in to make it clear. But yes, it also seeks to manage the intensity of the service.
And I suppose just in terms of the report, under the planning scheme, so the home business, I think you've got point D there, does not involve the retail, sale, display or hire of any goods. Would that capture ancillary hairdressing goods, or has that issue been addressed?
My understanding is that this business qualifies under that policy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. One last question from me. I actually also asked, in respect to the disposal of wastewater, that it must go through to, it must be disposed into the sewer. And not being someone who's familiar with caravans or anything like that, I've been told that that is easily done with this vehicle, that the water is retained and then can be disposed into the sewer. Could I just have confirmation of that?
Yeah, excuse me. Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd assume, and I think correctly, that the wastewater we're talking about is probably water for washing hair and the like, and a pretty easy connection into the Water Corporation sewer wouldn't be too hard at all.
Okay. So, confirming that that is part of the requirements. It says here, the waste management plan indicates that all water from this vehicle must be disposed into the sewer. So that would be a requirement. Okay? Okay. Councillors, further questions on this one? Councillor Plivka.
I suppose just to address the other concern of one of the people that lodged a submission in relation to this application, so I suppose for the benefit of those submitters, in terms of compliance with limits set by council, that would how would that occur? Would that be based on a response to a report as opposed to active management? I mean, how would that work?
So the administration would ensure that there's inspection, regular drive-bys and so forth. It'll be on the Rangers patrol circuit, and then of course we would be cognizant of any responses from or feedback from the community as well. But yeah, it'll simply form part of the Rangers' duties to monitor the site.
Thanks for that. No, I didn't realise it involved that level of vigilance, so I think that should give some comfort to the neighbour.
Okay, councillors, are there any further questions? So, councillors, we have an officer's recommendation, and I'm not going to read out the entire recommendation because it's quite lengthy, but all of you have that officer's recommendation in front of you. I would ask if there's a mover for the officer's recommendation. Councillor John, is there a seconder for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Long. Is there anyone against? Councillor Carter. We'll enter into debate. Councillor John.
This application has been referred back from SAP. The applicant has complied with what the town's policy is. It's for a 12-month review to see if they continue that. It's not our place to critique a business plan. Our place is to assess if they're compliant with local law. From the officer's report, this application is compliant. Ms Bover's original application was non-compliant. We did have valid reasons when it was rejected at that time. Since then, Ms Bover has made considerable effort and changed her small business to align with the town's policy. What is the point of our policy if we pick and choose who we're going to apply them to, particularly when someone has worked to comply? If we reject this application, we're not just taking a person's livelihood, we risk reputational damage and we expose ourselves to the decision being overturned as it has already been returned to us from SAT. In closing, I ask, what must this person do to be compliant? Consider that, and if it's something that's outside of the policy, I suggest raise it as a notice of motion to change the policy.
Councillor Long?
Well, I'll second what Councillor John just said and simply note the officer's recommendation, and that, to be very clear, a 12-month approval will allow the operator to demonstrate that the business can run in a manner that's sustainable and suitable for the residential setting, and anecdotally it appears that they already are doing so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carter?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The issue, of course, is that this is not compliant. This is why it's come to the council to make a decision. I do understand the work that's been done by the planning staff and the applicant, Ms Bover, in trying to make it more palatable. But in effect, the only real change is that 2 hours a week, there's less 2 hours a week, so you're not having the extra night from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Almost all of the other issues are the same. And we have to ask, perhaps we do need to change that policy, because this is a very intrusive business for the neighbours. It's not being held behind doors in someone's house, which you would imagine most home occupations are. It's being held in the open, out in the driveway, and there are cars coming and going, and there's activity coming. Now, whether the neighbours complain or not is not the issue here. Is this an appropriate business to be carried on as a home occupation for 54 hours a week? I would say it's not, and even if we do knock it back and SAT approves it, then that's not our problem. It is intrusive to the neighbours. It's better now than it was for a few tweaks, but in essence, the business is still not really appropriate in a residential neighbourhood. Thank you.
Councillors, anyone against? Councillor Plivka?
Vote against. I'll speak for.
Sorry, for.
Look, speaking for it, and I certainly thank the Director for confirming the level of vigilance that the town has, because I certainly agree with Councillor John and are attracted to his argument that if we have policies, whether it's this matter or any other matter, we follow those policies. We don't give special or adverse treatment to any person or entity. In terms of this one, the vigilance does give me comfort. I hope it gives the neighbours comfort that there will be compliance, and if there isn't compliance and the matter comes back before us, then I suppose we can review the matter at that point in time. But on the basis of how this will be monitored, I'm inclined to vote in favour of it.
Okay. Councillors, for? For or against? I'll speak very briefly to this. I find it concerning that this matter has consumed a significant amount of staff time. I do find it concerning that there was a reluctance to engage with the administration to modify the business in the beginning. I do harbour concerns about the amount of staff time that might be consumed if there are ongoing complaints. However, I also believe that the administration have provided recent information that the applicant has modified the activities of the business so that there are minimal complaints from the neighbours at this time, and I would sincerely hope that that continues. And in light of that information from the administration, I will support the officer's recommendation. However, I must highlight that there has been a significant amount of resources devoted to this item, and I think it was unnecessary. I think that if the applicant had engaged in a proactive manner with the administration to begin with and had modified the business in the way it has now been modified, then I don't believe we would be sitting here considering this item again. So as such, I will support this, but it does worry me if there is any step back into poor behaviours that cause trouble for the neighbours. So on that basis, because it is a temporary approval for 12 months, and I'd ask now if we can go to the vote. We have them. Oh, sorry, Councillor. You have the right of reply. Apologies.
Just a couple of quick points I would like to make. I think one thing we really need to consider is that Ms Bova has admitted to us that this has been really difficult for her. She stated tonight that she's not good with technology, and perhaps at the beginning there was some head in the sand attitude. But since then there's been a significant change. She has engaged with the staff, she's made a lot of effort. And I think it would be inappropriate for us to punish someone for not knowing how local governments operate or what the rules are, because I would argue most people don't. This application came to us originally because it was uncompliant. The ban was put on it. That has since been lifted by SAT and it's been sent back to us to reconsider. As I understand it, the application, if it had come in this state originally, it wouldn't have come to council. It would have been an administrative decision. And with that, I would finish.
Thank you. So I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour of the opposite's recommendation. So I have Councillor Ames, Councillor John, Councillor Burke, Councillor Long, Councillor Plifka and myself. All those against? Councillor Carter. Thank you one and all. And I will now advise that we are going to change the order of the agenda. We are going to actually go behind closed doors for the confidential business. The reason for this is the staff member is staying behind to provide some advice. So, councillors, can I have a mover to go behind closed doors? Councillor Polifka, seconded Councillor Burke. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. And we'll just wait for recording and for the CEO to return to the chamber. And we'll just have to wait for the recording to come back on. Right, we are back on air now. We are moving to item 12.3. Okay, so now, do the administration want to make any more comments about 12.3?
Just give me a moment, Madam Mayor.
Just appointment of council representatives.
Madam Mayor, only that this is the follow-on from stage one. We've increased the number of councillors to 3, and we've also increased the number from the Swan Districts Football Club to the CEO plus 2 of their board members to equal that out. I would say that these meetings are held during business hours. They're not held in the evening, so if anybody is thinking about nominating and is going to struggle to be here Monday to Friday during normal work hours, then I would suggest probably not nominating. The process tonight, if we do have more people wishing to nominate for the positions of councillors on this steering committee, we'll go to a first past the vote voting system, and I've already alerted Councillor Ames that should he wish to be participating in this, which he will from a voting point of view, that we've emailed the voting slips to him, and we've asked for him to provide a text message photo immediately from his voting directly to me so I can include it in the official votes.
Okay. So, Mr. CEO, as Mayor, obviously if I wish to be on this committee, then I'm automatically on there, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So, councillors, I will be nominating for this committee. So, Mr. CEO, you mentioned voting slips. So what I need to do now is call for more nominations and just turn the page here.
Could I just ask a question about the observers? So I see that we've got the local member for Bassendean, federal member for Bassendean. Obviously not having been on this, do they regularly attend these committee meetings? Or?
The local state member, I think, has more time, and he is very interested. So if he's not sitting in Parliament, he would normally make the meeting.
And external guests could potentially include, I suppose, any of his colleagues that wanted to come along as well. Because there's 3 classes of people mentioned there. So external guests by invitation as approved by the steering committee. So if the steering committee were to extend that invitation, they could do so.
That's right. Okay. And I will add that any councillor can attend any steering committee meeting as an observer, so that you're not precluded from attending. You were just precluded from participating in the voting or the discussion, but you can observe at any time.
Okay, so councillors, I'm going to call for nominations. Councillor Long. Councillor Ames. Councillor Carter. And of course you've got myself on there as well.
So we will need to go to a vote if that is it, because we have 2 positions and three candidates.
Okay.
So the candidates for the benefit of Dale: Councillor Long, Councillor Ames, Councillor Carter. I'll ask everybody when the slips come round to number them 1, 2, 3. So as they come in, we'll tally the votes, 1 being 1 vote, 2 being 2 votes, 3 being 3 votes. It's the least number of votes, so the highest priority will be the lowest score. So number 1 is your preferred candidate, number 2 is your second preferred candidate, number 3 is your least preferred candidate.
Is that not preferential?
It's not preferential.
Okay.
No.
So why don't you just do tick for 2 names?
No, we could have done that. I wish we'd have spoken to you earlier.
Okay. So I've just asked the CEO, why don't we just do a tick for 2 names? So I'm just conferring.
Dale, will that work? Just tick 2 names?
Since there's 2 positions.
As long as we don't get a
get a draw.
Had two names on your card. It's not a thing we'd considered, but yeah, just tick two, and then when you read them out, I just record which
Yeah.
two.
And if we get a draw?
Goes back to a vote, doesn't it?
Well, if there's a standout round one, they would go through, and then there would be a revote for the remaining position.
So, Mr CEO, I'll leave it to you to explain.
I think we might stay with the original, because that means there's less likely chance of a draw because of the numbering system. First, 1, 2, 3, yep. 1 being the most favourable or suitable, 2 being the second preference, 3rd being your third preference. Thanks, Dale.
And how are you going to deal with Councillor Ames' vote?
Councillor Ames is going to take a photo of his and send it to me by
Okay.
text, and I'll tally that up.
Thank you, Dale. Do you have Councillor Ames' photo yet?
Yeah.
Okay. I shouldn't be looking over the shoulder, should I?
Councillors, I'm going to make an executive decision here and suggest that we change the council report and have 4 members of council on the steering committee, because after that process, each councillor got 14 votes. So I think it might be easier, given that we are the largest shareholder in the process and the money has come to the town. I think it would not be unrealistic, if there's that much interest, that each councillor who is nominated, that we allow them to sit and we change the steering co structure.
Happy to move that amendment.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
I suppose my question is just, at the outset, Mr. CEO, you had said that the numbers were adjusted. Is this something we can do?
Yes, we're in total control with the funding agency, the FAA, under the state government agreement to set up a steering committee with our own terms. They would need to sign off on them, but I think having more oversight rather than less would be seen as a positive by the state government.
Okay. And in terms of these, I suppose, steering committee or committees in general, would they ordinarily have the majority of council, or are they meant to be a smaller, more nimble body?
They're normally more nimble, but it's not to say that some councillors with interest do have them. It's whether they can commit the time normally. And that's why we normally spread the load by having committees, is to spread the workload because of people are being time poor.
I suppose in the event that someone's unable to attend, there aren't quorum requirements or anything of that nature that it would cause trouble if people cannot attend?
Generally speaking, this committee will be making recommendations to the full council, so no decision making is made by the steering group, only recommendations. So all the decisions are made in this chamber.
Great, thank you.
So I have Councillor John, who has moved the amendment. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Long. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried.
Everybody wins.
Council, Cameron, I must exit the meeting. Call of duty is required. I apologise for my prompt exit. Thank you for tonight.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, we're going to 12.5, which is the... I thought that went through on block.
12.4.
So hang on, I'm looking for the on block. Okay, so yes, 12.5 is Audit and Governance Committee. So councillors, would you like to provide any additional information on this one? Or an overview? Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors. The purpose of this report is, and I'm just reading basically from the report itself, the purpose of this report is for Council to receive the minutes and consider the recommendations of the meeting of the Audit and Governance Committee held on Wednesday the 10th of December. And the recommendations is number 1, receive the unconfirmed minutes of the Audit and Governance Committee on the 10th of December. Number 2, receive the audited financial statements for the year ended 30th of June. Number 3, receive the audit findings log. Number 4, adopt a legislative compliance policy. And number 5, endorse the governance framework.
Okay. Councillors, any questions on this item? Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Carter. Seconder? Councillor Long. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. Councillors, will now move on to 12.6, the annual report. And again, this was covered off last week. Did you want to speak to this item?
Nothing further, Madam
Okay.
Mayor.
Okay, so councillors, any questions on this item? Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor John. Do I have a seconder? I'll second that. Is there anyone against? I'll declare that carried. Okay, we go on to 12.7, which is the policy review. And I just ask if there is any additional information that anyone would like to add to this particular report. No?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So 12.7, councillors, any questions on this item? Okay, do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Burke. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Plivka. Do I have anyone against? I declare that carried. So 12.10 is the next item, the RFT for Sandy Beach foreshore restoration. Again, I'd ask if the officer wants to add any information to this one. Otherwise, we'll go straight to questions.
No, I think there was a couple of questions last week at the briefing, Madam Mayor, that I answered the next day via email.
Okay.
Hopefully they were satisfactory.
So, councillors, are there any questions on 12.10, the Sandy Beach foreshore restoration, bearing in mind there wasn't a confidential attachment? If there's questions on confidential attachment, we have to go behind closed doors. Otherwise, I can put this straight to a mover. Councillor Plivka, seconder. Councillor Burke. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. This brings us to the motions, the notices of motions. There are two notices of motions that I put up, 13.1 and 13.2. You will have read the officer's response to those notices of motion. The first one is the Guildford Road revegetation, and Mr. CEO, did you want to? Or do you want the officer to?
Nothing to add further, but if there are any questions around the main road's operational boundaries and asset responsibilities as identified in the text, then the Director of Infrastructure Services could respond to that.
Any questions, councillors? Mr. Asmos, did you want to add anything to this particular dialogue? No?
No, I don't think so, Madam
No?
Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. So, councillors, I would like to move this item. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Plivka. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. So, councillors, we'll move to 13.2, which is the retention of tree canopy. And in discussion with the CEO, I have indicated that I am willing to change the wording. So if you will indulge me, I'll read out the motion that council requests the Chief Executive Officer to investigate, and then the first two sentences there I've deleted and go straight to point A. So point A, so council requests the Chief Executive Officer to investigate A, increasing the planting ratios and minimum sizes of replacement trees required when a regulated tree or verge tree is removed as the result of a resident request, application or planning approval. And B, reviewing and incorporating potential adjustments to the 26-27 fees and charges for streetscape contributions per tree where higher replacement ratios for removed verge trees are proposed, and C, present an update to council for consideration and endorsement within 6 months. Now, Mr. CEO, given those particular amendments and what I've just read out, do you have any additional comments?
Happy to support the amendment.
Okay. So, councillors, I would like to move that as Councillor Plivka, a question?
Yeah, just a question about 1B. So we're talking about reviewing and incorporating potential adjustments to the fees and charges for streetscape contributions per tree where higher replacement ratios for removed verge trees are proposed. Is that only where the trees can't be accommodated on site? Or?
Okay, I will ask the staff, but my interpretation is there is a specific amount for replacing the trees, and that includes the watering for the first couple of years. So I would ask the officer, Mr. Asmus, to provide his interpretation.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. So that's actually correct. So I guess the fee and charge that we apply is based on a number of elements. It's obviously the cost of the tree, it's the labour and the plant to install the new tree, and it's the maintenance for that little period afterwards as well. So all those factors go into the actual fee and charge that you see in the budget.
If you don't mind, may I actually expand on that?
Yeah, certainly. It was just ratios that was confusing me in light of the previous paragraph.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And bearing in mind, you're not approving this at the moment. You're asking the CEO to investigate what the ramifications would be of changing the ratios. Okay.
Madam Mayor, if I may, just for Councillor Cliff, he's probably aware that at the moment the policy says that the removal of one tree requires 2 trees to replace that. If you...
That is, okay. Can I just ask a question on that one? That is for trees that are on verges?
Correct.
Okay. And what about trees that are requested by a ratepayer to be removed because it's disrupting their fence or something like that?
So that still applies for the verge. So any tree that is required to be removed from the verge, that's the ratio. Remove 1, replace it with 2.
Okay, that's interesting, Mr. Asmus, because in some of the, correct me if I'm wrong, in some of the bulletin reports, it has said the tree at such and such address is going to be removed and replaced with a tree. It actually doesn't say a 2 for 1.
That's what the policy currently says, so I'm not sure why there's a discrepancy.
Okay. Okay, well, this also actually requests the size of the trees that are put in as well. So it's interesting. Okay. Councillor Long? Sorry, yes, Councillor John, sorry. John Long.
I just have a quick question. That would the CEO be opposed to also investigating having a buy-in option for residents, so when a verge tree is proposed for them, they can choose to have it elsewhere on their block to encourage a buy-in for private property having a tree, or what kind of tree, have a choice, so that there's some agency in there. It would be the idea. I just wanted to get your thoughts.
I think, but the director can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is a choice of trees already. There's a species list which councillors are signed off on, and the resident gets an opportunity. In relation to the next question, I would think it's probably cheaper for the resident to go and buy their own tree and install it if they were so minded, rather than our process, because our fees and charges, once they're set by council, can't be modified, and our fees and charges include watering for 2 years, a crew going out and installing it and staking it, and an annual inspection. So that our fees are quite exorbitant when mum and dad could buy it from the nursery and put it in themselves.
With your indulgence, Mr. CEO, I'll actually add to that. Residents, the town started the resident plant trees to residents program last winter, which allowed residents to buy trees at $5, which were quite mature trees, and I believe that was sold out in a very short period of time. So that is in conjunction with the Plants to Residents program that's run every winter. So
I guess I pitched it poorly. More what I was getting at would be, instead of them getting a tree out the front, they would agree to look after a tree somewhere else on their block would be what I'm getting at, so that we still have the same amount of trees, but it's causing them to take responsibility for it. So it wouldn't be a liability of the town, but if it were to die or fail, there would be an expectation that they would replace it.
So, sorry.
The probably a couple of issues with that. We have no compliance powers over private property, so that's the first. But also, I think from an amenity and a streetscape point of view, that I think we've all mandated, we've agreed as a council that a verge should have a shade tree in it. So we don't want the people's ability to pick and choose whether they have one in the verge.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor John. Councillor Carter, you had your hand up.
Yes, I've just got a quick question. There's a tree, our tree is dying, the one on our verge, and our neighbour's tree is completely dead, and it has been scheduled for removal. If our tree does die soon, which I suspect it will, does that mean that we have to have 2 trees to replace it, or is it just like for like in that particular scenario?
No, this is, if my wording on this is increasing the planting ratios and minimum sizes of replacement trees required when a regulated tree or verge tree is removed as a result of a resident request, application or planning approval. So it actually is not in relation to trees naturally expiring. I have no intention for that. So, Councillor Plifka, were you? Councillor John, sorry, Councillor Plifka first, and then Councillor Long.
Just back to 1B. So we're talking about adjusting the fees payable, and then after the comma there, we've got where higher replacement ratios for removed trees are proposed. Surely the cost to replace 2 trees would just be twice the cost of replacing 1 tree?
Well, I'm asking the staff to talk about ratios. They might come back and say 3 is appropriate. So,
but does B go towards what that number should be, or does it go towards increasing the amounts payable per tree? I'm just trying to work out which it does.
Can I suggest possibly that B depends on A? So I think, if I'm reading it correctly, Madam Mayor and Councillor Plifka, that we, depending on what we find with A, which is the first part of it, then we can move into whether B, the impact on B. So if the wording could be reflected, change to reflect that, I would suggest.
But you're not proposing a discount. So 3 trees is going to always cost as much as 3 single trees?
So, Councillor Plifka, this is asking the administration to investigate this. It's not actually, none of this will come into effect until the staff come back with a result of their investigation and a recommendation. And the same with the fees and charges. They go through council during the budget process. Would you agree with that, Mr. CEO? Right.
But that it would be looking to increase the amount that's payable per tree.
No. Well, I mean, fees and charges come to us every year. It might be that the staff do want to increase the fees and charges for that, I don't know. But what I'm getting at is if there are going to be 3 trees, for instance, planted instead of 1, because a ratepayer has asked for that tree to be removed, then obviously the request for what they might have to pay will be higher. But I'm not talking about a discount, and I don't know that the staff would either.
And so it would potentially be 3 times what it would cost. So if the ratios require you to put, say, for example, 3 trees back in the place of 1, when you just had to put 1 tree back in, that cost a certain amount. If you're having to put 3 trees back in, that would cost 3 times as much?
Yes, probably.
Is that what we're proposing?
Well, that would be the potential, but I think, and pretty keen to go away and explore this first, obviously, rather than answer it now, but there's complications around ratios that we'll get to when we do a report, in that, certain trees are rated higher than other trees, for example. So, and also there's to do with limited verge space. So sometimes we physically can't put 3 trees on there. If it's a tree that's not particularly considered to be important, then does that warrant 3 to replace that, for example? So there are some factors I'd like to explore and put into the report. Firstly,
just in terms of the cost per tree, are we suggesting we might increase that? Because I think in the past there wasn't as much watering as we would have liked. So would there be an increase on account of watering it for a longer period of time to ensure that the trees actually take?
Yeah, again, the detail as outlined by the CEO and myself around the different elements that goes into it, they all need to be reviewed. We have a cost in there for operating our truck. We need to go through that in fact, with all our fees and charges, and just make sure that they've been reviewed and reflect, I guess, what the actual cost is. So that's all part of that calculation.
So can I ask a question of Ms Asmos as well? I understand the limitation of verge space. I very much understand that. I think part of this was if you have a mature tree being removed, as stated in some of my reasons, then you're losing a lot of canopy, and to have two or three trees to replace that canopy seems reasonable. And I do understand if there's not enough verge space, but I guess my question to the administration is, would you investigate the feasibility of that ratepayer who may wish to have a tree removed, paying for a replacement tree on their verge and another 2 trees in a location close by, which may not be a verge? So these are my questions, but because this is an exploring the concept, I don't think you have the answers yet, and I would be very interested in hearing what the administration might suggest.
Yeah, that's a really good scenario I hadn't even thought of. So if we can't fit them on the verge, plant them somewhere else and they pay for it. Certainly
Yeah.
could be considered. So I hadn't thought about that. It's a good suggestion and needs to be considered.
Okay. Councillor Long, sorry it took so long.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a fantastic debate and really want to start digging holes and planting trees. Just on 1A, you've said here investigate minimum sizes of replacement trees. So I just want to understand the intent. Is it about immediately planting the largest possible tree as a replacement, or planting a tree which is going to grow large? In other words, you can put a tube stock in for a 30-metre tree, or which will be small for a long time, or take the step of actually planting the largest possible replacement tree at the time.
I was hoping that the administration would give me their
Fine.
suggestions on this.
Yeah. And I know from personal experience that planting a large tree is a riskier exercise. They require more care, and planting multiple large trees, if you're going to, is probably a better strategy because you might get 1 out of 3 survive.
To give you an idea, the CEO and I spoke about this, and there is capacity to go up a little bit larger. It doesn't have to be a tree that's enormous, but it could be a little bit larger. So this is where we're seeking the advice. This notice of motion is to seek the advice and information so that in the future we can make a decision about this going forward.
Roger that.
Okay. So, any further questions? So I've moved this. Okay. So, Councillor Carter has seconded this. Do I have anyone against? Right, I'll declare that carried. Interesting conversations, councillors. Okay, so announcements of notice of motion for the next meeting. I believe we have one.
Yes, I would just like to indicate that for the February OCM, I would like to raise a notion that will be about grant funding. I've already raised it with the administration and the mayor, so it's something that I'll be sharing with all the councillors shortly, and I think it's something everyone will be excited about.
Thank you. Okay, there is no urgent business. Confidential business has already been dealt with, and this brings us to the closure of the meeting. The next ordinary council meeting will be held on Tuesday, the 24th of February 2026, commencing at 6 p.m. The next briefing session will be held on Tuesday, February the week before. So, sorry, Council. And I declare this meeting closed at 7:27 p.m. and we'll wait for the recording to be turned.